Usnea lichen is supposed to turn orange. I researched. The problem is, some sites say there are 130 genus of Usnea lichen, some other ones say there are over 1,000. I even went to sites that help you to identify lichens. Those sites put you through the whole taxonomic ranks. So you go from domain, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species, and subspecies. They ask you a question about all those things, and for, there's like 40 questions you have to go through, and then, if there are even 130 species. However, it's from the genus Usnea, also old man's beard. They look similar. Maybe all the different genera in there will die slightly different. Maybe pink or reddish or lilac. I don't know. I guess if I mix them all up, it will give me a brownish orange, hopefully more orange. So I will do that because I attempted with my kids to separate all of it.
Das ist jetzt noch ein helles da.
The attention span wasn't very long. We had fun for a minute, but we gave up. We separated the Usnea from those lichens, but we identified Bryoria lichen, which is a lichenized fungi. It is very hairy and thin and dark brown, grayish. They are all entwined with the old man's beard, so we pulled them out little by little, and I actually got 4 grams here. So I will dye this with 4 grams of fiber to see what happens. I have no idea what color that will turn. The Bryoria lichen is also called horsehair lichen. They're in cold areas all over the world and grow right next to the old man's beard ones. I mean, they all grow next to each other anyway. The old man's beard, the Usnea lichen, doesn't actually need mordant. You don't need to mordant your fiber because it has a lot of tannin in it. But I already mordanted silk and wool. So what I will do is make 2 pots, one with the mordanted fiber and one with the non-mordanted fiber, and see if it's indeed true that the outcome is the same. First, I need to wash the lichen. I don't have to wash them really well, I guess. I just rinse them in cold water so it's not that dusty anymore. It's 2 totally different things. They could be the same thing, just a different part of their body, Put it in a pot. Put cooking water in it and simmer it for about 3 hours. I am honestly not very optimistic right now. It looks all very pale. My first attempt to dye with Usnea totally failed. The water was too hot, I think. Sometimes it simmered, but sometimes it boiled, and that broke down the Usnea, and there was no dye that stuck to my fiber, which was silk and merino. And this is actually the one that was laying in that sad bath. It's white. It didn't take any color. So before I try again with water that will not boil, I will do a solar dye again because there are a few days that are nice outside. And it worked very well with the wolf lichen, which you can see in another video. So let's do the Usnea as a solar dye and also that other lichen as a solar dye and see what happens. I read also that the Usnea doesn't need vinegar. The wolf lichen needed vinegar, so it could be that this one needs vinegar because it's similar like the wolf lichen, just a different color. So maybe I do 2 pots with that, one with vinegar, one without vinegar, and the Usnea just without vinegar. First a layer of the Usnea, and then I put my silk on the bottom, and then another layer of Usnea, and And then my Merino. Now the pot is full, so I won't add more lichen. This is water I boiled a while ago, so it's definitely not boiling anymore. And I don't think I will break down the lichen with this temperature. This goes on the roof. Alright, now we do one of those with vinegar also. They say like 1 to 3 spoons, so let's just put 2 spoons. So, and then fill it up with the rest of the water. Then I put a sticker on this one that says this is the one with the vinegar, so we can see if there is any difference. Our 3 pots. This one is with the vinegar and water. This is the same lichen without vinegar and water. And this is the Usnea without vinegar and water. Now let's put this on the terrace. It's a beautiful day up here today. So blue. I think this already gets a little yellow. I'm super curious and excited, and I hope this time it will work out. I have to say, I kind of like the solar dyeing anyway more because I can just put it in the sun and let it be. And with the stove, you have to stay there and make sure everything is all right. I don't know. I like the solar dye. Since I overcooked my first attempt to dye with the horsehair lichen, Bryoria lichen, I try with the leftover I have here in a mini jar again as a solar dye. Bryoria lichen also doesn't need a mordant because its acid binds to the fiber naturally without a mordant. I will just add a tiny layer of the Bryoria lichen, add the silk, unmordanted silk and mordanted merino wool. So we see if the wool takes color and the silk doesn't, it's because the silk wasn't mordanted. So let's try it out. It's not a lot of lichen, so the color will be probably very faint, but that's what I have right now. The weather hasn't been overwhelmingly beautiful here. In fact, over there it looks extremely dark. The lichen have been in the solar dye jar for 4 or 5 days now. And I'm actually, even though I think it was just one day where there was sun, I'm very happy with it. This is the Usnea lichen. I mean, look at that orange. I think I take it out now because I love that orange. I don't want it to change or become brown with more sun. I will take that out today. Then that's the one that doesn't have any vinegar in it, just water. The silk remained white. The silk wasn't mordanted. The merino was mordanted. So it might be that it needs a mordant or that it just doesn't like silk as much. It also says it actually turns yellow to green. It can have some green variations. So this one definitely has a green variation, or it might turn yellow once it's dry. I'm sorry, it's extremely windy, so the camera almost falls over. Yeah, then the jar with the vinegar in it looks the same. So the vinegar really didn't do much. Actually, here on the picture it looks like it's a little more yellow, but that's the light. In real life it's, let's see, it's the same color. It's the vinegar that's without the vinegar. I think I will take that out today as well, mordant some silk and try another batch with mordanted silk and see if the silk will take the dye when it's mordanted. This miniature with the Bryoria lichen. The wool already turns yellowish. The silk is not mordanted, so it might stay white too. We'll see. Also, there is no sun here. Okay, I'm done. Look at this, it's coming. After my first absolutely failed attempt to dye with lichen on the stove, I will try a second time now, even though I like sun dyeing better, but the sun is gone. I have about 100 grams of the tree moss lichen left. It's this one, or at least I believe it's this one. It looks like elk antlers and has a dark underside. And in German, this lichen is actually called Elchgeweihflechte, which means elk antler lichen. The Latin name for this is Pseudevernia furfuracea. However, I have 100 grams left. This is 50 grams. I keep the other half of it to try with ammonia, because this is getting like a warm greenish, brownish, yellowish. And with ammonia, when it's fermented, it might shift color. I know that the old man beard, the Usnea lichen, which turns orange, will turn like a burgundy or purple. I'm not sure about this one, but I will try. I don't have the ammonia yet in our small village. You can't buy ammonia. I had to order it, and it probably will arrive in about a week. So the ammonia lichen dye will be another video. And anyway, it will take weeks to do that dye, because you have to put it in a jar and shake it daily, which I try to do. Not sure if that's going to work out. The good thing about the ammonia thing is you can make with a little lichen a very powerful dye that you can use for the 10 times amount of fiber or something. I have to look into it very carefully. Today on the stovetop I do the tree moss lichen and the Usnea lichen. That's the plan. And the difference to this version I'm trying now is that the lichen actually cooks just a short moment and then cools down. The last time I simmered, semi-cooked the lichen for about 3 hours or more, and it broke down the lichen and it didn't die at all, and it was smeary, yucky soup. Ugh. That's why I like the sun dyeing so much. I don't have that smeary mess here. All right, let's just do it. Those are the two pots I have available for dyeing. This is an aluminum pot and this is a copper pot. And since copper can act as a mordant, I think, and alter color to a greenish tone, possibly, I think I'm gonna put this tree moss lichen in this pot, since we saw that the sun dyeing got a little greenish in color, and this one got orange on the terrace, so I put it in the aluminum pot. It's 50 grams of lichen with 3 liters of water in each pot, which I have to bring to a boil. My soup here almost boiled. I wasn't brave enough to have it completely bubbling, so I took it off because I don't want to have the lichen to be like it was last time. The liquid is still clear. That's a good sign, because last time the liquid wasn't clear anymore. Take it off the heat. It's a nice orange. This one, I mean, it looks nice, the color, but the dye bath, not very exciting. Let it sit for 8 hours. Put in the fiber. I'm gonna try those bags, because last time when I had my accident with the lichen, I had to pick all the silk and wool for a while, and it still has some stuff in there. I don't mind, because when I spin it, it comes out anyway, and once it's dry, the lichen is very hard So it's easy to pick it while spinning, but maybe the bags work. Doesn't smell so good. The old man's beer is like, it smells kind of good. This one, yeah. Bring it up to 70 degrees Celsius. Let it sit for a day. It's not as bad as I thought. I mean, I just had to heat up the water and now let it soak. I like things that I can put aside and it stays there. Take off the fiber. This is the Usnea lichen. And this is the tree moss lichen. And wash it. That's the Usnea lichen. I don't know if this got really more intense than my sundae, but then my sundae was in the jar for longer than this. Maybe I was supposed to leave it in longer, but I kind of am done with this experiment here, so I take it out now. I'm not so wild about this. This is the silk. Let's see how it looks when it's dry and compare it with the sundae of the Usnea. What I want to try with both lichen dyes is take 2 parts of each and add a modifier. One is lemon juice. I'm going to take this lemon juice because I don't want to use up my fresh lemons, and ferrous sulfate. You can also take rusty iron nails that you soak in water for a while. The acid after bath is supposed to make things brighter, which won't be much brighter than it already is. It usually shifts darker tones to more reddish tones, but I want to see what it does with the lichen. And the ferrous sulfate is supposed to make things darker, so in that case with the Usnea lichen it might become brownish. So here we have our 2 samples. The ferrous sulfate, I really didn't put in much because if you put too much with silk and wool, it will make the wool and silk brittle. So I don't want to overdo that. But I think it's already getting a little darker. Comes this caramel color now. So let's let those solutions sit for a while we wash the tree moss lichen. And here is our acid solution. And here is our ferrous sulfate. You shouldn't have skin contact with ferrous sulfate. It's not good. In the meantime, I have learned about tannins and what their role is in mordanting and color fastness of the fiber and bonding alum to cellulose fiber, etc. You can see all about that in the video I posted before this one, and I'm very excited to test it. So the Usnea lichen has a lot of tannins in it, and I was thinking maybe that's the reason why it stuck better to the silk, which is a protein fiber, but who knows. And maybe the tree moss lichen doesn't have as much tannin as the Usnea lichen, so I have to test it. I made another solar dye jar with the tree moss lichen, or at least I believe it's tree moss lichen, with tannin bath soaked fiber that has been mortared afterwards with alum and cream of tartar. In here is a little bit of merino, a little bit of mohair and a silk hanky. I will put this on the terrace for 1 or 2 weeks. Here is the whole group together. This is the Usnea solar dye, which turned out a really beautiful dark yellow, orangey in silk, and the merino a little stronger. Then right underneath is the same lichen but on the stove, which is a little lighter. That might be because it was less long in the soak, or because it was not under UV light, just with heat, or maybe the solution was less concentrated than in the jar. I don't know. Next to it is the lemon afterbath, and left of it is the ferrous sulfate afterbath, which turned out really nice too, I think. It's a very nice caramelly brown. This is the Bryoria lichen solar dye. It was just with that actual piece of Bryoria and just a tiny little fiber. Didn't get really dark. This is the unmodified one. It's just yellow, so I guess if I had more of it, it probably would have gotten more intense. That's the lemon, which looks kind of similar, and that's the one with the ferrous sulfate. Also here the silk stayed much brighter. Then over here we have the tremoss lichen. Those are the solar dyes. Left is the one with vinegar, right is the one without vinegar. There is no difference that is really noticeable, I think. What is very interesting though is that the merino got much darker than this one. This is on the stovetop, which turned out a beautiful sage green. And this one was actually lighter when I took it out of the jar. It was about 2 weeks ago when I took it out of the jar, and it darkened in the meantime, I think. But it was always darker than what this one is. But it's almost like it oxidized in that time. The silk basically stayed white. It's really not much going on here. This one is with the lemon afterbath, tremoss lichen, and this is with the ferrous sulfate afterbath. I like the colors, but really in all the dyes the merino took it better, except of down here. Down here is the last solar dye I made with the tremoss lichen, in which I tested if I treat the fiber with tannins first, if it would take the dye better. And it actually didn't. I mean, before I put it in the dye bath, it looked like this. This is the merino, but it's a different merino than this one. This is superfine merino, and I wonder if this is really superfine merino, because it's supposed to take dye well, and it didn't. Also, in other dye experiments, it didn't take the dye well. I'm starting to think maybe that's not merino. I don't know. So, yeah, those are the silk hankies that stayed bright. Obviously, they got darker with the ferrous sulfate afterbath. And I guess it got so much darker because they had tannin treatment. But all the other silks didn't have tannins treatment. So probably that's why this turned so dark. All in all, the tremoss lichen is not that impressive, except of that green and that brown. It could also be that in the sun dye jars I had a different species in there. There is definitely a orangey and a greenish side going on here. This was all of my lichen adventure for now. Let me know if you have dyed with lichen before. If you have any insights, tips or ideas, please let me know too. Let me know if you like the outcome. I will do another video where I try the lichen dye with ammonia. That will take a while though, because it's a long process. It takes several weeks to months to do that dye, so I'm really looking forward to start blending those dyes on a blending board possibly. I probably won't use all the silk because there's a lot of bright silk, but a little bit for accents would be nice. And then I look forward to spin it up and do something with it. Maybe you want to see where I collected all this lichen, if you haven't seen it already. Or maybe you see some other fiber adventures of mine. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.